Hello, and welcome to the Christopher Moonlight live stream. My name is Christopher Moonlight. I am here with today's co host, Stormy the Cat, who is currently chewing on my thumb. So, yeah, I just thought I would do a Sunday live stream because I've had a couple of things on my mind that kind of just keep playing over and over again. And that's essentially the idea. Yes, the putty tat. Hello, Described Light. Thank you for joining me in the chat. Um, so there is kind of in this whole Iron Age media thing that's going on at the moment, which I absolutely love. The idea of independent creators creating content on their own, whether it be a comic book, a movie, music, a novel, whatever piece of media that maybe in the past, especially in past decades, they probably wouldn't have been very successful at trying to get out into the world without the aid of a publisher, movie studio, music industry, what have you. Kiradam, thank you for joining me. This is cool. I've actually got people in here. Um, and Stormy says hello. Um, yes, Stormy the cat, who's got very sharp claws, but is very loving. She's getting pet right now. So yes, now we have self-publishing. We've got the internet. We've got all these ways to get our media out there, and so we have the Iron Age, and before that we had Comicsgate, which is still thriving. And there's kind of this attitude now of, and I'll admit I was guilty of it as well, which is like, we don't need the mainstream anymore. They're going to do themselves in. Let it crumble. Let Disney and Warner Brothers and Paramount and Marvel and DC and Pixar and whatnot all fail. Their time is up. Let them go. And I've come to realize, and really thinking about it, that that is not actually conducive to independent creation. We want a thriving market where there are the big guys and the little guys that are able to compete. The problem at the moment that we are seeing, and that a lot of people are obviously not happy about, is that we have a failing mainstream whose answer to the question of, well, how do we compete when we've got all these independent creators that are striking out on their own and creating things like Isom, I think that's how you say Eric July's thing, or Cyberfrog, Iron Sights with your boy Zach. Like, all these different creators are striking out, and they're not. I mean, they're doing really well, but they're not dominating the market. So I don't understand why the mainstream is so afraid of them. But what? Well, no, I take that back. I do understand why they're afraid of them, but it's their reaction to it is the wrong reaction. So their reaction is essentially, well, any criticism towards what we're doing is an attack, and our numbers must be failing because of that criticism. So their answer is to try and wipe out that criticism, whether it be through sicking people on them, sicking the sycophants on them, the the far leftists and the crazies on the Twitter psychos and that sort of thing. Or their other response is to just flood the shelves so much. And I use that term, that's a comic book term, but I also use it metaphorically and everything else. Just flood the distribution of media so much that there's no room for the mainstream. And so you get all of these, using the comic book industry as a metaphor, you get the comic book stores are just flooded with these terrible, untalented, unsellable comic books. And the same goes for the movie industry. We're just getting all these terrible movies that are going out there. They're just flood the shelves, make sure there's no room for the mainstream to have any voice or any space where they can compete with us. The problem is that's bad for the mainstream, and that's bad for the independents. The mainstream it's bad for because ultimately the audience is not bothering to see this stuff quite as much anymore. You still have your normies, there are still people watching, maybe something like Shang-Chi or Thor Love and Thunder. But the numbers aren't what they could be. I believe the view numbers for the new Avatar Way of the Water trailer are definitely not what they should be in comparison to past efforts from Marvel, which is a shame, and not because not because I think the Avatar The Way of the Water is a masterpiece, um, and should get a large audience, but rather things like that just, they could be better. But for some reason, Hollywood being out of touch for the most part and being afraid of change, uh, they're not putting their best foot forward. And therefore, we're all suffering now in this entertainment economy and the economy in general. And by the way, please go vote and don't vote for people who want to hurt you. Because as I discussed with Das Wolfen on the Friday live stream on Pop Culture Minefield, politics is downstream from culture. But everything else, but we're downstream from politics. So we need to make sure that we're not voting for people who are going to keep pumping toxins into that stream. Anyway, I'm mixing my metaphors. I think I'm going off script here. But the fact is that we do need a thriving economy in terms of entertainment and everything else. And so to compete is one thing, because competition elevates everyone. The mainstream does something good. We as independents want to top that. So we try different things and we have the freedom to try different things. Then the mainstream sees what we're doing and they go, wow, these people are doing some stuff that we would have never tried and it is successful. Therefore, maybe we should try and do our own version of it or try and do something to compete with that. The audience wins because they keep getting better quality content and they keep looking back and forth from the mainstream to the independents to see what's going to happen next. Now, we did see good examples of this in the comic book industry. In the 80s, there was the black and white trend, the black and white comic book trend, which gave us things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and The Crow, which then became mainstream. And it was, so it's not like that we don't have examples of the past when independents made the market thrive and then ended up benefiting the mainstream. So like I said, right now the big problem is we have a mainstream, I'll use Hollywood as an example, and comic book industry. Like I said, they are out of touch. They've hired all the wrong people. And unfortunately, there's a saying, what is it? A smart person will hire people smarter than themselves. Incompetence will hire other incompetents. They're bringing in their friends. So Hollywood at the moment, unfortunately, is filled with incompetence. And I don't mean that in a way to say that these people are all just idiots. But from the point of view of entertainment and creatives, it would certainly seem that way. It's just that they're not qualified. They're not qualified to be making the decisions that they're making. They're seeing, the past trends, the things that they think are cool, and they're trying to extract from that, like, okay, what is it that's so cool about Star Wars? Spaceships and lightsabers. Okay, that's not really, I mean, those things are cool about Star Wars, but they're not the reason that Star Wars has had its staying power. And then they think, well, my thing that I care about, my agenda, can be shoehorned into there, and therefore, I can turn what's popular into what I want it to be, and therefore I will be popular. This is kind of stolen valor mentality. Unfortunately, there are a lot of creative people in Hollywood. I know them. I have friends who are designers and actors, and they want to tell great stories. They want to create cool things that audiences love, and they want to connect with the audience. But unfortunately, they have to appease the people in charge right now, and that, in that sense, their hands are tied. and it's difficult for them to break away, because if they take a chance and break away, they absolutely, um, it's kind of like a one shot deal. If they're successful, great, but if they're not, they don't really have the option to come crawling back. So I certainly understand their unwillingness to be defiant in the face of all this. They live and work in Hollywood, and they're like everyone else that's freelance. They're looking for the next job. So, I don't blame them, but they do want to create good things, and they are creating good things. They're just creating good things for bad product. And this is something that I think that we should be paying attention to as well. I think at this point, we're so kind of habitual in our judgment of everything that comes out of Hollywood and the studios that sometimes we speak before really examining. And so we throw out the baby with the bathwater. We throw out the wheat with the chaff. I see shows that are, admittedly terrible shows, but then I'll see people saying things like, well, the designs are terrible. They got the designs wrong. Or, it's like, well, designers in Hollywood are always trying to find new ways to reinvent things that otherwise would just be the same old, same old. I don't blame them for that. And sometimes I see some really great designs, but people kind of just knee jerk jump all over it. These designs suck. They look cheap. They look stupid, that sort of thing. It's like, well, not everything is that way. The same goes with the whole thing with diversity casting. I kind of feel like diversity casting is something that has become it's become a detriment to everybody, including people with different skin colors, because now people kind of, again, knee jerk. If they see an actor with different color skin, they automatically assume it's going to be woke. Now, I understand if it's a race or gender swap, and there are interviews coming out talking about how, they're going to be pushing an agenda, and they're very plain about it. Yeah, that's an appropriate reaction to have. And again, it doesn't benefit the actor because they are essentially being used as a human shield in that endeavor, and it's affecting their credibility. It's affecting their future as an actor, which is unfortunate. People shouldn't be used in those ways. But at the same time, too, it's like sometimes I see, new material coming out, and there's an actor with a different color, and people automatically go, oh, well, they see that and they go, well, it's going to be woke. We have to watch out for that, because no, it doesn't mean automatically it's going to be woke. I mean, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like par for the course a lot of times, but I think we still need to examine it on an individual case by case basis, because I think if anybody were to plan to, since segregation is rightfully illegal now, we have people who I think would love the idea of getting people of different races and beliefs to segregate themselves. It's a lot less work for them. So getting people to kind of knee jerk just look at anything that has someone with a different color skin and automatically just declare it as woke is, something that they would love. They would absolutely love that. So we have to be careful not to get into that habit, because I do believe that, I believe in Martin Luther King's statement of people should be judged by the content of their character, not just the color of their skin. And the content of their character means their talent, their personal values, all that type of stuff that comes from within. It's not something that you're just born with. You shouldn't be demonized for the skin color you're born with or your gender. It really is your character, the choices you make, and what you have to offer in terms of value in any given situation. So, again, I do want to see Disney create quality content again. I do want to see them treat their employees and the people in other nations better. I do want to see them create things that are profitable and get people excited about going to the movies or streaming. Same with Paramount. I would love to see Star Trek kind of regain some of its former glory. I just, if I had any of these people in front of me, I think David Zaslav gets it for the most part. I think Elon Musk is getting it for the most part. These aren't people that I agree with it on everything 100%. I'm not putting anyone up on a pedestal, but I really have to say that, it's important that we bring back quality and productivity and reinstill the values of those things. It's important to make things beautiful. It's important to make things of quality, and it's important that we do that to get people excited about taking part in it, and that stimulates their willingness to pay for it, which stimulates our economy. All these things can exist. I know this because I grew up with them existing. I think back to my teenage years in the 90s, and how even the things that we didn't think were that great back then were still better quality than they are now. They were created by people who cared and did want to create a quality product. If they didn't always meet the mark, we could be a bit jaded about it, I guess. But now, I look back at that stuff and go, yeah, in comparison, it's pretty good. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about. I don't have anybody on the show with me. I did invite some people to come stream with me, but this was impromptu, so I didn't expect it. But I wanted to talk about... before I go on, by the way, I have a subscribe star. I should have done this at the very beginning. My Christopher Moonlight subscribe star. And hey, look at that. I've actually got some people contributing. So here I post any live streams that I'm a part of, like Morning Coffee, or the ones that I do on my own, like here's with Peter Samedi. Oh, hey, look at this. I am super excited.
Hey,
Dust Wolfen, welcome to the stream. How are you?
Just fine. I had to turn in a paper before I could jump on, so.
Hey, no problem. I'm glad to have you. I've kind of just been rambling to myself, and I think we have Keeverdam and Scribelight on. I don't know if they're still on. The counter didn't change when they commented. So I don't know if they're still here or not, but yeah, I was just plugging my stuff before I went on to the next subject. I don't know if you've been listening.
No, I just popped on to grab as soon as I got the paper done. I jumped on the link.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, thanks for coming. I'm glad to have you. And by the way, speaking of which, like I was just mentioning, I did post this to my subscribe star, and it's free to view from there, or you can just find it on the Pop Culture Minefield YouTube channel. But Das Wolfen, John, hosted Morning Coffee on last Friday, and it was a pretty damn good show, I think.
I had fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was good conversation. Of course, we talked about Twitter, and we talked about Warner Brothers earnings call. And we also, by the way, I'm just, like I said, plugging my subscribe star. So for the people that want to, do the like free membership to subscribe star without paying, I post all of the stuff. What is it? You call it the live streams that we're doing right now on there. And then for the other subscribers, there's, things on here that you get access to, like special behind the scenes. Most of the stuff I will eventually put online, but you guys get to see it first, and you get to help support. And also, by the way, don't forget to go watch The Quantum Terror.
Good movie.
It's my horror movie, Lovecraftian surrealist horror movie, now streaming on Tubi, Filmzy, and if you want to watch it commercial free, it is on Amazon Prime, and it is coming soon to other streaming services in the new year. So I'm very excited about that. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, and on The Quantum Terror also has a Twitter. And my book, The Making of Harbinger Down, a practical effects journey through the production. Oh, no, sorry. A pictorial journey through the production of a practical effects film. Because Harbinger Down is also on Tubi, created by Studio ADI. These are the special effects guys that did the special effects work on the practical effects work on the prequel to The Thing, movies like Starship Troopers, Tremors, the Aliens franchise, Prey. They're good dudes. And we've got a book about the making of their movie Harbinger Down, which is science fiction kind of homage to movies like The Thing. But
I'm
let's get
sorry, that creature in that picture is scarier than the Thing is.
it's pretty awesome. And there's all sorts of stuff about how it was made. That is actually a very cool practical effects puppet. So there's pictures in the book, which you can find on Amazon. It's print on demand. You can get it for Kindle or hard copy. But yeah, that creature was sculpted by an artist named Tim Gore, and who's worked on a lot of stuff. Also has worked for Legacy Effects, and it's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. So check that out if you are a fan of practical effects or special effects or movie making or coffee table books in general. Now, before I move on to the next subject, which I wanted to talk about, which is the idea of elevated horror, and how right now I'm seeing kind of these articles pop up here and there about elevated horror versus regular horror. I was, before you popped on, John, I was talking about what we were kind of talking about before when we were discussing the Zaslav or the Warner Brothers earnings call. And that is just that, I mean, as an independent creator, I see a lot of other independent creators going like, these studios, they need to all crumble so we can take over. But I think they need to succeed. I think that the idea that these desperate mainstream studios would continue to desperately kind of, I don't know, try and smear any independent creators that might compete with them or flood the shelves so there's no space for anyone else. I think that's acts of desperation that if they were more successful, we wouldn't have to contend with. I heard that the earnings call, how was the earnings call, by the way? I had to bail before that, really, before we got into that subject.
Yeah. Well, I didn't listen to the whole earnings call. I just listened to the Valiant's part from Valiant Renegade. So yeah, it was interesting. Zaslav is definitely should be off script a lot more often.
That's cool. Yeah, I heard he definitely he did go off script, and I did hear that there's still losses at Warner Brothers overall, though, and I think some people are taking that as a sign, as, oh no, he's already failing. It's like, he probably cut those losses in half at least, and you got to give him more time. I mean, he's only
just took over.
Yeah, and he's only just starting to find other people to be in charge of stuff. So, I see these people kind of, go like, they think they're going to compete with Disney. I'm like, I don't even think they're worried about Disney at the moment. I think they're just worried about getting back on track. So,
but if Disney, specifically the MCU, doesn't watch out, it's going to find itself, in second place. The analogy I used was the Monday Night Wars. I don't know if you followed wrestling back in the 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But when it used to be, WWF, what is currently WWE, was the king of the walk. It was the premier show. Well, Turner brought out WCW, and eventually they caught and started beating WWF because they put out a better product. And so that's, now granted, that didn't hold for long, and eventually, the WCW collapsed and they got sold to WWF for the catalog rights. But the point still stands that if Disney doesn't start making course corrections soon, it's going to find itself and Marvel being second fiddle to DC.
Yeah. Well, I think people are already looking for that, because I mean, I'm just walked away. I mean, I don't even bother to watch anything. I watched Werewolf by Night, which I think was a step up in quality compared to the rest, but I still wasn't. I mean, you remember, I still
Yeah.
wasn't really impressed with it. And again, I don't hate watch this stuff. That's a point that I made in a meme I posted the other day. It's like, I don't think hate watching is a good idea. Um, but I do want it to be good. I think that, right now I'm really pushing for a balance between the mainstream and the independents. And I think right
Yeah.
now a lot of the live streamers, and there are some good ones. I mean, Pop Culture Minefield has done it, and A Drink with Crazy, who is supporting the Iron Age stuff, has done it. But I really wish I would, a lot of the live streamers would take some time, maybe once a week, just for 10 minutes out of their live streams to plug an independent project that they think is good,
Yeah.
rather than continue to just complain about what's bad. And I appreciate the value of critique and market watch. As a matter of fact, I make a lot of decisions based on that. But I really, I wish they would do that more, instead of just harping on what's so bad. But yeah, kind of, again, going off into the weeds there. I wanted to ask you, so Zaslav went off script.
Yeah.
Was there anything particular that he said that really resonated with you?
My favorite line of his, I think, or one of, there was many, but I think he comes out and says that we haven't had a real Superman movie in 13 years or a real Harry Potter movie in 15.
Yep.
And it's like, shots fired. In other words, it's not that we didn't have a Superman movie, it's that we didn't have Superman as he's supposed to be. Because Superman is supposed to be hopeful, and that is not the version that Zack Snyder gave to us.
Yeah, and it's a shame because there is stuff that Zack Snyder does. He's definitely, I was talking about this before you came on, but he's definitely what I would call like baby and bathwater.
Yeah.
Like, he does some good stuff, but it's marred in things that decisions he's made that's probably someone else from the studio that would have been, someone good, would come along and go, this is good, but we're not going to do this. It's like, because I love, and again, Henry Cavill
Yeah.
and Ben Affleck. For me, they're the best in terms of Superman and Batman that we've had so far. Personally, I know there's a lot of Michael Keaton fans. He's a great actor. I never felt like he had the physique and the presence to be Batman in terms of like Ben Affleck has.
Right.
And same with Cavill. Just really, I mean, it's like perfect casting. It's kind
Oh,
of like
yeah.
the perfect casting with the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. I loved the first movie and I loved that cast. It just went off the rails super fast.
Carl Urban is a perfect cast for Bones.
He's fantastic.
The others I can take or leave, but Carl Urban was amazing as Leonard McCoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. Like I said, we have there's a lot of talented people in Hollywood. Snyder is a talented director. I think he has a photographer's eye, and that's why we get a lot of slow-mo shots. It's almost like he's setting up a photo, and then as a director, he's figuring out how to make it move. But he wants you to see that photo, which I think is a neat directing style. It is cool.
Yeah.
But, like Cavill got interviewed not too long ago, and they said, "What do you want to see for the character?" And he said the same thing. He said, "I want to see hope. I want to see positivity."
Yep.
I'm like, Cavill is the man. Like, he's fantastic.
And as was pointed out by several people, including Gary on I think it was Saturday. It might have been Friday, but on TGIF, or it was on Saturday Morning Fun Time, that Cavill is a big star now. and
Yeah.
he's got the ability to dictate what he wants his character to do now, which he didn't when they first signed him to be Superman.
And we can see as well that he understands that. He understands he has the negotiating power because he just bailed on The Witcher.
Yep.
Said, because he's a fan. I mean, this is a guy that, what was it? He was on a gaming campaign and he almost missed his phone call saying he was cast as Superman.
He was he was raiding in World of Warcraft and missed the initial call from Zack Snyder calling him saying that, hey, you're Superman.
Yeah. And he posts pictures of like his World of Warcraft figures that he's painted. Or is it Warhammer?
Warhammer, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a geek like us. I mean, that's why he's, I think that's part of the reason why as far as in the fellowship, of geeks, and that's why he's as beloved as he is, because you can trust him in any character that he plays that's a genre character and that has some sort of foundation, like comes from a book, comes from a movie, that he's going to portray that character as well as possible.
Yeah. It's refreshing to see an actor care that way and also not want to attack the fandom. He seems to be a real class act, kind of like Keanu Reeves as well. So yeah, I'm rooting for this stuff to succeed. My dream, for the longest time, I told myself I have no interest in ever wanting to direct a superhero movie, but I realized watching Cavill and Affleck that there's one exception that I would make. And I have no idea what I did with my copy of it, which is unfortunate because it is my favorite comic book story in terms of superheroes, at least ever, which is Dave Gibbons wrote and Steve Rude illustrated a World's Finest Batman Superman crossover where they team up because the Joker and Lex Luthor have teamed up. And it's all disputed over this, without spoiling anything, an orphanage that is kind of at the halfway point between Gotham and Metropolis. And it is just a sublime, wonderful superhero story, which gives humanity to both Superman and Batman, brings in Lex and a very classic Joker in their classic supervillain forms.
Yeah.
Lois Lane and I believe not Selena Kyle, Vicky Vale, I think, is in it as well. Alfred is in it. It's just really, it's fun, it's charming, it's exciting. There's superhero fights. There's all this Batman being a detective. Just all this great stuff. And if they were to make that into a movie, I think it would be probably the best thing you ever saw. Instead of Batman versus Superman, World's Finest, the two of them teaming up together. Like I've imagined it. I hear the Richard Donner. Oh God, I'm blocking on the composer's name.
John Williams.
John Williams, only the best composer ever. Jeez, I'm imagining the John Williams score for the trailer for that. And I would just, love to see a moment where, like the classic comics, Superman and Batman shaking hands before they jump into action. Something really geeky and cool like that would just I'm kind of feeling it, that's a trailer. If I saw that come in the theater, that trailer came on.
Well, you can modernize it with a fist bump.
Are you're going to Poochie World's Finest?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, it's just a suggestion. If you wanted to modernize it, do the fist bump instead of the handshake, because
make them more proactive. Sorry, that's like one of my favorite Simpsons bits ever, was that the people standing behind the animator drawing Poochie. It's just yelling stupid instruction. Make him more proactive. What's that even mean? But anyway, yeah. So speaking of verses, so I do want to leap into the other subjects. I don't want to go over an hour, because I decided to do this live stream impromptu because I'm actually recording stuff for a little pitch animatic that I'm doing at the moment for a Christmas time horror movie.
Oh, those
But
are
these
always
things,
fun.
yeah, well, this this subject, the elevated horror subject, has been on my mind along with, like I said, kind of this what Joe's Atmosphere said on the Friday stream, which was, we want the mainstream to succeed because I think it will elevate the indies. And Joe said a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
And I agree with that. So anyway, like I said, I was going, I'm not live streaming enough on my own channel. I need to do that. And I've got everything set up to record a little voiceover for this Christmas horror movie animatic. And it's a great script. I'm really excited about it. I actually have several great scripts at the moment, if I can pat myself on the back. There will be solid movie news in 2023 from me. But
Awesome.
I love that right now we're seeing a horror movie, which I do want to see. Oh, Scooter Tart is with us. Hello, Chris from the UK.
Oh, welcome.
Well, I should actually do. I don't know if I have a terrible English accent anymore, but I actually used to have a real English accent because I was born in England. So I have great love for the United Kingdom. But thank you for joining us. And I hope that my British accent still sounds authentic. Yes, Terrifier 2, which is, I watched the first Terrifier, and I'll admit it was tough because I'm not actually like a big gore hound, and that movie was brutal. And I heard this movie is even more brutal. And but I'm so happy for this movie because it's a $250,000 movie. It's coming up on $10 million gross. But it kind of spurred this argument. Are people getting tired of elevated horror? Which I've been seeing these articles come up with. And this isn't the article that really kind of grabbed my attention. This I just brought up to kind of give examples of elevated horror. We're not really going to read this. But elevated horror is a term that was coined to kind of be like, we're not a slasher. We're more thought provoking. We have symbolism and we have crazy, manic, depressive, weepy women that you should have broke up with at the beginning of the movie and saved yourself from getting murdered by her because she can't get her crap together. But I mean, look at this. Do you want to date this woman? I do not.
No,
I mean, I'm married, but if I wasn't,
too much baggage.
Yeah. This is not who I want to spend my time with, And I understand that the Lodge. I haven't heard of the Lodge. Twisted gothic horror film that plays with its viewers. Scooter, intellectual horror, which so I actually have nothing against intellectual horror, and I don't actually think that a lot of these movies are as smart as they think they are. I mean, like, Us is Jordan Peele's, Jordan Peele seems to think that horror is a vehicle for his grievances. And for me to see a rich, successful comedic actor, want to tell me about how he's got grievances against me. I don't know. Like, maybe if the movies were better. It Follows. I haven't seen It Follows, but a lot of people were impressed with that. But the premise of that, this is a little more along the lines of what I think is a good horror premise. They say it's an allegory for sexually transmitted diseases. It's a sexually transmitted curse. But at the same time, it's not, as far as I can tell, it's not preachy. They're just trying to use that to kind of get under your skin and scare you. And I don't have any problem with that being a premise. I think everybody should have kind of like a premise that they start with. And then from there, you kind of see where it goes rather than turn it into a lecture. But it follows um, the perfection. I don't know what's going on here. I haven't heard of this one, but it looks like another weepy woman. uh, Mother. I
Mother
read
was
about
just
Mother, and it sounds wretched. it
it
sounds,
was it was. I could barely finish it.
you know, the Babadook. A lot of people were impressed with the Babadook, and my daughter loves it. I haven't seen it yet. Uh, let's see. Kristen Colebrook, thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
I am happy people are watching. Would you say The Northman fits into the genre? Have you seen The Northman, John?
Yeah, I'd say you could make the argument that it could be horror. It does have elements.
I haven't seen it, but to me, it looked like it'd sit nicely on a shelf with something like Braveheart. Uh,
Yeah, it's got it's a lot darker than that. Let's just put it
is
that
it?
way. Yeah, I don't want to give anything away, so
All right. It's streaming. I think it's on Peacock, so I should give it a chance.
yeah,
Um, you know,
I would. It's a good movie.
I will. Now, again, I think that this idea of elevated horror versus I don't know, conventional horror, whether that be something like the Terrifier 2. I mean, people are loving Terrifier 2. And again, I'll watch it at some point. I got to fortify myself for it because brutal stuff is really not my thing. But at the same time, I do appreciate that there's an audience for it and they have a good time with it. But I don't think this battle between so-called elevated horror and regular horror is necessary. I just think it's important to kind of highlight that elevated horror gets kind of mixed up with, yes, more pretentious stuff that's usually, again, the form of a lecture. Sorry, I got something in my eye. I'm gonna fuzz in my eye. But I do want to see both. I do want to see kind of more fun, things like there's a new Evil Dead movie coming out, which
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise.
yeah, Evil Dead Rise, which I'm hoping will be good because I loved the Evil Dead kind of reboot movie that they did. I thought that was fantastic. And it was done unpretentiously. They kind of gave it a different feel. They took it more seriously than the Bruce Campbell stuff, but Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell produced it.
Yeah.
And they had, again, they were at the cabin for a different reason. It was, oops, where's my mouse? There we go. The Northman had a mystical element to it. They were there because someone was trying to get off of drugs. And I thought that was a good reason, this kind of like isolationist, like we got to get out of civilization. We got to get you away from the drugs. And then having her kind of freaking out at the fact that there are demons in the woods. No one believes her. They think that she's just going through severe withdrawals and making up excuses to leave. And you said you hadn't seen that one, right, John?
Which one? Oh, the new Evil Dead?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen the remake. I tend to avoid those remakes like the plague.
I do too, generally, but I was working in a movie theater at the time, and all of these horror fans kept going in. You recognize them. They're wearing their, like denim jackets with like spike studs in them and horror movie patches and all this, and they'd be going in and I'd be like, hey, tell me what you think, and they were coming out going, it's great. So I went in and watched it, and yeah, for the most part, I don't feel enthusiasm for remakes, but this could exist in the same universe and not be a remake, and they tie things in to the movie. Like in the end credits, you hear the recordings from the original movie from the professor talking about the Kandarian incantations and reading them aloud and that sort of thing. But Anyway, it's
I'll
I
put it on my
forgot what I got on.
list.
What?
I said I'll put it on my list.
It is worthwhile. It is. I wouldn't steer you wrong, knowing how you feel about it. It's also very brutal, very gory, like very like you see things and you're like, oh my god,
Uh,
you know. But I can take it because it's done so well. And so, seeing Terrifier 2 and seeing people excited about that. And I'm seeing people like Stephen King posted about it. One of my favorite wrestlers, Matt Riddle, posted about taking his kids to go see it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, hope your kids are okay. I think they had some fun though. But I'm really happy to see that. But I'm also, I think the Quantum Terror, I mean, people might consider that elevated horror. I'm not sure. It certainly has a spiritual element to it.
yeah.
Um, it's there are things going on in it that some people have told me, oh, I was just scratching my head at the end of the movie. I don't know what that was about. And other people were coming to me and one of my neighbors saw it and they were coming to me going like, when this happened, did it mean this? And it was fun because they had different interpretations of it than what I intended. And I told them that. I said, look, I'm not going to tell you what my interpretation of what I made was because I love what you got from it. And so I don't know if that's considered elevated horror. But I certainly don't want to see people start to go like, oh no, I hate elevated horror, or
Yeah.
I hate slashers, or I hate, whatever it is, like kind of see this idea of things. And again, this is maybe the media doing it. And like I said, this particular article kind of um, hand waves away the idea of I mean, I haven't read the whole thing, but it seems to me like they're kind of trying to de-escalate. But I have seen some articles that seem to want to like escalate this tension between different groups of horror fans and pit them against each other. And I just don't see that as productive because I'm really, as long as it's good, I'm game for anything. I just hate when people, put Midsummer out there and go like, this is what horror should be, elevated. And I'm just like, oh God, no, please. I don't want that.
Well, it's not healthy for the genre at all
Yeah.
to have that kind of division in. Yeah, it's like in sci-fi, you like what you like. I mean,
Yeah.
some people don't like space opera. I love space opera.
Oh, I do too.
Um,
Absolutely. I love hard sci-fi.
oh yeah,
I think one of the issues we face, whether it be horror or sci-fi too, is you get one thing that's successful, and then everyone wants to pile into that camp, and especially
yeah,
filmmakers who are like, I guarantee you. A matter of fact, I know this for a fact. I had someone in a horror, not a horror group, a filmmaking group that I'm a part of. It's a private group. Posted an article about Terrifier 2 and said, "You see, horror movies, they're low risk, high return, and they're a way to jump into the filmmaking industry by making a horror movie." And my comment to them was, okay, the director of Terrifier 2, whose name, this always happens to me, I should write stuff down. His name escapes me at the moment. But I've exchanged emails with him in the past. I've watched his career. Art the Clown started in a horror anthology, and then he did Terrifier 1 and it was moderately successful, and then he did Terrifier 2. He has been passionate about this and working his butt off about this, and he made a great movie. And same with people pointing at like Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. Yeah, it was done on a low budget. Yeah, it made a lot of money, but it was done really well. And so I hate seeing these people just think like, oh, here's my stepping stone to success, not being enthusiastic about it. And so therefore you get a lot of knockoffs. We're going to see a lot of like just super gory Art the Clown knockoff movies now.
yeah.
Is probably what's going to happen. Let's see. Scooter Tart says, I guess horror films, like other genres, will have different types, more fodder for the marketing people to say, this is the latest thing, etc. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Marketing people, they're just looking for the sound bites and the things that they can tag. these days. Although if you get a, I mean, there are marketing people who will be excited about what they're marketing, and I think that helps as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I gotta say, especially when it comes to hard sci-fi, there are so many movies trying to be hard sci-fi that are just they're so drab looking. Like everyone's always got the same blue jumpsuit as a uniform. The sets
Well,
all look the same utilitarian look, and that stuff can all be cool, but it's just like, yeah, stuff a few actors in a blue jumpsuit and talk about a black hole and an event horizon, and we got a movie. So, you know,
well, I
anyway.
mean, there's some rule. I mean, because the whole point about hard sci-fi is it's got to be theoretically possible. So the equipment, you're going to be limited. That's why things look utilitarian, because they're not going to put a lot of aesthetics into a spaceship that's made for, say, hauling water,
Yeah.
or to use the Expanse as an example, or to a warship's going to be all armor, however it can be. It's not going to have, it's not going to be made to fly into an atmosphere. So
Yeah.
it's not going to have. It's going to be all hard angles. It's not going to be this aerodynamic spaceship.
It's funny though, because you look at older sci-fi and what they thought the future now would look like, and everything is like these very boxy, clunky looking cars with hard angles.
Yeah,
And then like in the 2000s, especially in the early 2000s, everything kind of had this very sleek, smooth, like fiberglass body look. So
yeah.
I always wonder you know, what we'll actually see in terms of hard sci-fi. Because even Star Trek, a lot of people will kind of argue, like, will that be the future? Um, that far in the future, will that be what things look like? It'll almost be like magic to us. While other people say that, oh no, that's just a fantasy version of the future. Um, when you're that far ahead, either could be true, I think. I mean, was it Arthur C. Clarke said that, the technology of today would seem like magic to people 1,000 years ago, and
And,
1,000 years later will what happens then will look like magic to us, or would.
any significantly uh, advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Did you look that up, or did you do that from memory?
No, I did that from memory.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly it. Um, so yeah, it's I do want to see people continue to try and innovate and be passionate. I think this idea of, like I said, pitting different genres against each other. I mean, I know certainly my Christmas horror movie, I'm excited about this because I don't think this would be categorized as elevated horror. It's pretty intense. I'm playing it straight. I'm not doing it like, I don't know. What is that? David Harbour is doing
Oh,
Violent Night right
yeah,
now, and that looks fun. That looks like a lot of fun. It's essentially Die Hard with Santa Claus,
yep.
uh, right down to him talking on a walkie-talkie with someone.
I'm gonna give it a look.
Yeah, it looks fun, but I'm not playing at that angle. This is going to be a there's going to be Christmas themes, but it's all going to be real, like, high stakes horror. And I'm really, like I said, I can't give anything away about it, but
But you're not gonna go in like the style like Krampus was, right?
no, this
Okay.
is going to be yeah, I can I
Just
say
basically
anything?
that's because Krampus is basically a monster movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has got a mythological monster creature in it. I won't even give away that much.
Okay.
But it's based on the lore of the monster and the ideas of what we do at Christmas time as families or friends, people getting together and mashing the two together in a completely believable way. So this is kind of yeah, I mean, it is a creature feature. I am very proud of how we present the creature because it's a classic creature. It's a creature that everybody knows. I'm probably giving away too much, but I'm just really excited about it because I found a way to really bring the characters and the themes and everything down to earth. You When you meet these characters and what they're doing in their daily lives, you could believe that this is what just people are doing at Christmas time, and then what collides with them. It's in keeping with the idea of everyone's in the feel of the Christmas spirit, but it's not something as hokey as what Krampus does, which is like, this is what Christmas is all about, and then Linus and Charlie Brown come in and that sort of thing. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's something that's happening at Christmas time. It could happen any other time of year, but the circumstances of Christmas influence it. And so I will privately share with you when I have a little presentation I'm working on. I will privately share it with you.
Okay, that'd be awesome. I can't wait to see you have it realized.
Yeah, I would love to, and this is a project that I would love to get Gina Carano on.
Oh yeah,
because there's a perfect role for her in it. Let's see, we got Scooter Charles says, sounds interesting, Chris, kind of like a cross between The Relic and It's a Wonderful Life. Actually, that's not a bad way of putting it. That's for as little of the information as I gave, that's pretty astute.
So I assume Scooter, you're talking about the movie that's based on the child Peter. I forgot the guy's the gentleman's name that write it now. I read them all. Preston and Childs. They're Pendergrass series. That's the first. The Relic is the first book in that series.
That's the one where the it's probably, that's an old movie. We can spoil that one, right?
It takes place in a
museum.
In a museum with a monster, obviously. Yeah, but the book's a little different. But it's that's what it's from. Is I think if we're talking about that one, that's what it's from.
I really enjoyed that movie. My daughter, who's a horror movie fan, I told her about that one. She hasn't seen that one yet. I'd like to see it. I rewatched that maybe a little under a year ago, I think. I just found it on, I think it was on Amazon or something for free, and I hadn't seen it since it come out. And I rewatched it and I was like, yeah, this is fun. There's some moments that kind of make you chuckle, like when they're lowering the SWAT people in and then they try and pull him back out. And the guy pulls out half a body and goes, no.
Yeah. But I mean, I would like to see them do the rest of the book series because I'm a big, that's something I read a lot of books. I go through easily 100 a year, if not more.
Wow. I probably manage, with my kids and everything. I read on my car line, so I probably manage about 4 to 5 books a year now. I used to be a much more voracious reader. But yeah. I love that people are still reading. I think actually readership is up more than ever. People act like it's not, but yeah, and that's something I think I said in another live stream is I think that a lot of times when books get made into movies, it's the people who have read the book aren't excited about it because they want to see it be a movie. They're just excited about it because they want other people to love the books they love, and they think that if it's turned into a movie, then people may go read the book and then they can talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun one. Interesting idea of somebody mutating and then having to essentially take an antidote continuously to stop themselves from mutating. And then this kind of womp womp moment at the beginning of the movie where he realizes he's in the wrong ship, or the crates he needed didn't get on the ship or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Good acting, good kind of premise setup. I thought it was very well done. So, felt bad for the dude in the wheelchair though. I liked him. But anyway, I think should probably wrap it up because I do have I'm screwing things up. I got things I got to do today. I remember getting in an argument with a friend about Under the Skin was a better book or as a film. I couldn't do Under the Skin. Probably for the reasons that the filmmaker intended, though. It was so disturbing that I noped out.
Is that the Scarlett Johansson movie?
Yeah. And you think the idea of an unclothed Scarlett Johansson would be enough to keep someone watching, but the thing about leaving the little crying kid on the beach, I was just like, I can't. It's too like things happening to kids. It's too much for me most of the time. Sometimes it's all right. I can handle it if it's something like, in Stranger Things, they kind of handle it in a way that it's not so disturbing, but that one really kind of drives it home. Yeah, the beach scene was too much for me. And again, it wasn't anything overly graphic. It was just like, you're leaving a little crying kid on the beach to die in the cold. Like, my parental instinct kicked in and I wanted to jump through the screen and help the little kid. But I did kind of watch other scenes of it after that, and like kind of went back just to see what happened. But yeah, the book sounds like it would actually be very interesting.
I'll have to check out the book.
Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I should wrap it up because I have to. It's been just over an hour, and I actually am neglecting recording some audio for that presentation for that Christmas time horror that I cannot talk about. And I also I've got a daughter with a learner's permit who wants me to take her driving, which is both fun and nerve-wracking, but she's doing well. I'm proud of her, and she's very excited. So we're going to do that.
Should we stay on the sidewalks?
No, that's what we'll do most of the time, I think. So
everybody stay indoors then.
Yeah. So anyway, before I log off, though, I do want to say thank you to Scribe Light for popping in. I don't think he's here. Kiverdam and Scooter Tart for the wonderful comments. And was there someone else? I felt like there was someone else as well. Nope. I think that is it. And of course, that's Wolfen. Thank you for joining me in the not in the chat. I'm terrible at this live stream thing. I want to keep it on my own channel because I want to keep. Yes, Kristen Colebrook. Yes, thank you well for popping in. I knew I missed somebody. It was kind of stuck in there, but thank you for popping in. And once again, I've got a subscribe star, and also Das Wolfen hosts Fridays, and I host Tuesdays. So I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about this Tuesday. But yeah, if you want to help out on Subscribestar, please do. If not, just keep coming in for these great chats. At least I think they're great. And good luck with the lesson from Scooter Tart. Thank you. Yes. If you don't hear from me, check the sidewalk. All right. I am ending broadcast. Thank you very much. John, stay on for a moment, of course. But
okay.
Have a good one. 3, 2, 1, and out.